I transmigrated into the strongest monster, Godzilla, but all I wanted was to latch onto the nation and hand myself over to the state only because I was still a baby Godzilla. I was no match for those 100-meter-tall ancient giants. Only with the nation's power could I rapidly evolve into Burning Godzilla. After half a month of travel, I finally entered the South Sea of Dacia. 3 soldiers were stationed at the coast. When they first saw me, they were completely stunned. I slowly walked toward them. When I reached them, I raised my right hand to give a military salute, to show I meant no harm, since I couldn't speak, but I realized my right hand was too short to complete the gesture. So I used my tail to smooth out a patch of sand and painfully scraped out 2 characters, Dacia. Captain Wang said, "This big monster doesn't seem hostile. What is it doing? It looks like it's writing, impossible. It's hard to believe a giant monster is writing, and with its tail no less." The next second, Captain Wang, gun in hand, tremblingly stepped forward. Taking a deep breath, he shouted at the giant monster, "Can you understand what we're saying?" Facing the soldier asking me a question, the Godzilla I'd become really missed talking to people. But Godzilla can't speak, so I just nodded heavily. Everyone was shocked. The monster actually understood. They felt their worldview shattered. Report to command. "We've found a giant beast that understands human speech and can write. It looks a bit like a dinosaur. Currently, it's harmless to our military." On a distant ship, the commander was baffled by the report. The whole crew was stunned too. But he replied, "Destroyer 05 is heading to your location." Soon, everyone saw a mighty warship approaching. They also saw Godzilla standing there with the soldiers. There really is a giant monster. The crew on the warship were all shocked. So it's true. I'll go check it out. Ever since Sakura country leaked those super radioactive materials, the warship captain had felt the world was changing. Then the captain started a conversation with the monster. Of course, everything was recorded and reported to the highest command. At the highest command, the bigwigs sat in the meeting room staring at the screen. Why the urgent call for a meeting? Yeah, I've got tons of work at the Commerce Department. Everyone quiet and look at the documents in front of you. The next second, the bigwigs flipped through their files and were stunned. How is this possible? The legendary beast Godzilla had appeared in the South Sea of Dacia. Only when they saw the live feed of Godzilla on the screen did they believe it was real. Inside the highest command, "Alright, everyone. According to reports from the front, this Godzilla on screen, only about 10 meters tall, can understand human speech, specifically Dacia language, and can even write Dacia characters." The Secretary General stated the news directly. And on screen, Godzilla was about to write. In this situation, everyone knew the world had changed drastically. Something big was happening. Eyes locked on the screen. On the island, Godzilla erased the 2 characters Dacia and started writing again with its tail. The writing was crooked, but you could still make out what it said. The next 2 characters were Homeland. Everyone who knew this was shocked. Put together, the 4 characters read Dacia Homeland. What exactly was this monster? Was it trying to say Dacia was its homeland? But before they could recover from the shock, Godzilla swept the sand flat again with its tail and wrote 2 more characters, Doom. Everyone couldn't stay seated anymore. Was Doom coming? Godzilla smoothed the sand once more and wrote 3 characters. Dacia people. Inside the highest command, every time Godzilla wrote something, they discussed it heatedly. The various bigwigs argued fiercely, but using just a few words and limited data, they inferred a remarkably accurate conclusion. Godzilla swept the sand again and wrote the last 2 characters, Future. Everyone froze, utterly stunned. Back in the highest command, the bigwigs debated once more. Finally, they reached one possibility: the soul inside this giant monster might be the soul of a Dacia person. He had returned from the future. In that future of his, some catastrophe must have happened, leading to doom. Now, he had come back to this time as a giant monster, directly seeking out his homeland, Dacia. Everyone stared at the deduced possibility. Many of the bigwigs fell silent. Even the general fell into deep thought. Well, a voice broke the silence. Everyone, if it really is what we've deduced, why not just ask the monster directly? But we still need to verify. How about asking the monster to write the core values? Didn't you see it can barely write a few characters? Alright. Let's continue confirming its identity. If it really is some phantom returning from the future, it should be able to tell us its home address. Let the frontline personnel keep talking to the monster, another bigwig spoke up. This got broad agreement. They had to be rigorous before anything was confirmed. On the island, the political commissar continued the dialogue with Godzilla. You're saying you know the doom will happen, right? Godzilla nodded to indicate yes. Now I'm going to verify your identity. Godzilla was stunned. It didn't know if another version of itself still existed in this world. Were its family still alive? Next will be a multiple choice question. I'll name each province, and you choose. 1. Dajiang Province. 2. Zhang Province. 4. Guangnan Province. The political commissar rattled off the names of 39 provinces. Some had been renamed, others were fictional, to test Godzilla. Godzilla froze. How does Dacia have 39 provinces at this time? Did I transmigrate wrong? No, Godzilla thought again. This was a test. After all, he was a giant monster now, and they had to be absolutely sure. So Godzilla used his tail to write the number 1 in the sand. His hometown was Dajiang Province, on the border, guarding Dacia's frontier. The political commissar nodded. Godzilla exists between truth and falsehood, unknown what's right or wrong, while far away at the border. A phone rings, it's a call from the capital, inquiring about this information. What? That address actually exists? It matches the info we got from talking to Godzilla. Plus, based on the detailed address given, there really is a family there, and they do have a son, but he disappeared a year ago. They searched for a long time and never found him. As Godzilla claimed he was reborn in the apocalypse, the big shots all looked dead serious. This kind of giant monster has already appeared, and not long ago over in Sakura country, massive creatures were spotted too. The end is coming, and what Godzilla said about the apocalypse is most likely the awakening of the giant beasts leading to humanity's destruction. In various legends, those giant beasts all have the power to control the forces of nature. So, what should we do now? One of the big shots spoke up. It's basically confirmed now. What Godzilla said is pretty much true, it's unlikely to be fake. What we need to do now? What we need to discuss is what action to take. At that point, a scientist big shot stood up. First of all, according to existing records, Godzilla is a key figure in the legendary Second Kaiju War. Legend says Godzilla was empowered by the Earth's forces and beat the evil monsters into slumber. From that perspective, Godzilla is first and foremost on the side of Earth's ecology. Now, the consciousness inside Godzilla is the consciousness of our Dacia people. He's already taken control of Godzilla, and he came to us. If what he says about the future is true, then he must have experienced one apocalypse before. Now coming straight to us will provide us with a lot of useful intel. I think we should raise this giant monster Godzilla. Maybe he'll become a powerful main force against other monsters when the end really comes. Let's vote. First, vote on whether to raise Godzilla. In favor? In favor. Alright, majority rules approved to raise Godzilla. But now, where do we place him? That's the tough part. This giant monster is only going to grow bigger, and according to legends, he gets absolutely massive. Everyone was stumped again. Another document was brought up. According to the legendary records, Godzilla might prefer radioactive materials, they provide him with enough energy. Everyone, think about where to put him. Might as well pool our ideas. Why not ask Godzilla? Since he was reborn, he'd probably know a suitable place. Godzilla, we've confirmed the address you gave us. If that family really is your family, then your family still exists in this world. As for the you from this world, he disappeared mysteriously a year ago. What? My family is still here? As Godzilla, he felt overjoyed. But he also heard that his other self in this world vanished a year ago. Maybe that's connected to his own rebirth. Also, the country is preparing to settle you down, since you came to us yourself. Settling down is definitely a big problem. He'll keep growing bigger, needing to develop on his own. And if possible, he'd need to consume nuclear material to fuel his growth. That's a huge challenge. His mind raced, recalling events from his past life. Right, in his past life, a month and a half later, that is, when humanity discovered the giant beast starting to awaken. Half a month before the official start of the Kaiju era, 4 spheres carrying extremely intense radioactive material appeared across the globe. These 4 spheres appeared respectively on an island in Dacia's South Sea, and that island is near Dacia's South Sea province. There's a military base there, in the wilderness of a state in the beautiful country, and at the center of the Great Rift Valley in Horse Country, and on the frozen plains of the Bear Country. When the Kaiju era arrived, the big spheres were claimed by the first awakened monsters, taken for themselves, causing what were supposed to be ordinary monsters according to legend to gradually grow into kings among Kaiju. Eventually they became so powerful that they were only slightly weaker than the Ghidorah that appeared later, extremely terrifying. In this life, since he became Godzilla, he absolutely couldn't give up on those big spheres. Otherwise, how long would it take him to grow to his peak? The next moment, Godzilla moved, using his tail. He swept a wider patch of sand and used his tail to write 4 characters, still crooked and messy. Base 5. Base 5, isn't that near South Sea Island? Base 5 has excellent deep-water harbors. Or rather, the sea depth there is also very deep. Maybe that's why Godzilla chose it. On the island, the political commissar received new orders. Destroyer 05 returns to Base 5 to guide Godzilla. The higher-ups have made their decision. And the commissar arranged the orders as fast as possible. Everyone boards Destroyer 05, heading back to Base 5 together. Soon Destroyer 05 started moving. Godzilla plunged headfirst into the sea, his massive tail sweeping high. Then it slammed heavily back into the water, and he was fully submerged. Underwater, Godzilla watched the destroyer ahead. Then he followed. In no time, Godzilla caught up to Destroyer 05 and swam alongside it on the port side, heading toward Base 5 near South Sea Island. In the High Command Center. Everyone, now we basically know that very soon. This world will undergo a massive change, and the only one who knows about these changes in advance is Godzilla, who carries the soul of our Dacia. We need to have prior knowledge of the relevant information. The issue now is how to establish efficient communication with Godzilla. After all, Godzilla can't speak. Even though he can write, it's way too slow. Then, everyone's eyes turned to the top scientist. As the head of the Academy of Sciences, this should be a scientific problem. We have to ask the scientist, he's the professional, after all. I'll take on this task on behalf of the Academy. We'll come up with a way to communicate efficiently with Godzilla in the shortest time possible. Now, let's talk about the anomalies around the world. Files were handed out to the big shots again. First, anomalies have been appearing worldwide over the last 6 months, and none of the countries took them seriously. If it weren't for meeting Godzilla, we would have thought it was just some coincidence on Earth. First, what's certain is that the anomalies started after that country leaked their ultra-high radioactive materials. Second, the first giant creature was discovered in the waters around that country. And recently, an estimated 50-meter-long giant black-spotted octopus was found. There are pictures in the file. This giant octopus is one of the phenomena observed over the past 6 months. However, no traces of those legendary super beasts have been found yet. According to scientists' speculation, maybe the ultra-strong radioactive materials leaked by that country caused some kind of supermutation in certain organisms, pushing them toward becoming giant beasts. But so far, there are only a few cases of giant monsters. There's no evidence that a large-scale giant beast transformation will happen. If you ask me, it's all that country's fault. Just wipe them out. With our current strength, taking them out would be a piece of cake. Alright, now we wait for news from Godzilla. Let's stop here. After who knows how long, they finally arrived at Base 5. At Base 5, many soldiers were already waiting on the shore. They had received the news and been given permission, except for those on duty. The rest could come out to see Godzilla. Godzilla slowly emerged from the water, his massive body gradually appearing fierce and imposing. If he grew even bigger, he'd be even more awe-inspiring. Base 5 is an important military base, with many soldiers stationed here, guarding the nation's safety and territory. Fighter jets flew overhead. The scientists at the base stared at Godzilla before them, stunned. Even as a juvenile, he had such a ferocious presence. What would happen when he reached full maturity? The scientists were waiting, because they wanted to try out the latest technology and attempt to communicate with Godzilla. The lab personnel behind them had everything ready. Godzilla, we need a high-efficiency way to communicate. Next, we're going to fit you with experimental instruments. This made him, as Godzilla, excited. He had so much information to tell the nation. And to prepare. Then a soldier directly took the ready elevator platform and came up next to Godzilla's head. Godzilla was only about 10 meters tall at this point, so it was easy. The soldier took 2 devices from the box and installed them directly onto the top of Godzilla's head. Noticing Godzilla's gaze, the scientist began to explain. This is a brainwave collection and analyzer, the most advanced device we have. Next, we'll analyze your brainwaves and translate them into language. Now, please read this sentence in your mind. Godzilla looked at you. The sentence was projected as subtitles from your end. He began reading it silently. At the same time, the brainwave analyzer reacted. Data streamed continuously to the scientist's computer, being analyzed and parsed for the best results. I will stand with you to protect Dacia. The brainwave analyzer transmitted the data in real time back to the scientist's computer for instant analysis. Meanwhile, on the computer, this sentence appeared. It also showed up on the projector. I will stand with you to protect Dacia. When everyone there saw that sentence, it was like a resonance. It exploded in their minds. Yes, everyone was here to protect Dacia. To protect their own country. The scientist stepped forward and cautiously asked, "Is that what you were thinking?" He looked expectantly at the giant monster before him. Godzilla nodded, and at the same time, the word formed in his mind. The projector showed it. Instantly, everyone's excitement erupted. It worked, it actually worked. All we need to do is set up a voice module to read out the translated words. Then, the projector displayed. Subtitles appeared again. Since I can communicate now, I need to tell them. Prepare defenses in advance. I need to talk to the leadership about future information. The lead scientist confirmed it. The upcoming conversation will be extremely important. I'm the director of Base 5. Everything we say here will be transmitted in real time to Supreme Command. And the scientists are already setting up the relevant voice system. So we can achieve fast communication. What's today's exact date? As Godzilla thought. The brainwave collection and analysis began returning data in real time, and the entire room also sounded a mechanical voice. Real-time voice successful. It is now July 9, 2030. You can ask questions, and I will answer quickly. The next moment, Godzilla's thoughts began. And the room sounded again. The Base 5 director already had some questions ready. How does the apocalypse begin? Sakura country leaks super strong radioactive material. First, mutations will appear all over the world. Some creatures will start turning into giant beasts. The giant beasts will trample the land and destroy production. 2 years later, the legendary giant beasts will gradually awaken. Those are super monsters carrying the power of nature. Even nuclear bombs won't be able to deal with them. That's when humanity will steadily lose ground, and the population will keep shrinking. Until the 17th year of the giant beast era, the last stand of Dasha will fall to the beasts, and human civilization will perish. Earth returns to the age of giants. The room goes dead silent. The end is coming. Human civilization won't survive. Our homes are on the brink of collapse. Protect the country, protect our homes, someone shouted. Everyone in the room started chanting their own slogans. Looking at these soldiers in front of him, he couldn't help but think back to when he was in the Air Force in his past life. It was the same then, and it's the same now. Why choose Base 5? The mechanical voice sounded again. In 1 month, a source globe will appear in the world. There is a military base there, Base 5. The wilderness of a certain state in the beautiful country, the center of the great hunting valley in the horse country, and the frozen plains of the bear country. This source globe is a huge supplement for giant beasts. If other mutated giant beasts get the source globe, they will become extremely terrifying and bring great harm to humanity. I am now the Godzilla giant beast. I need that source globe so I can grow faster. My food is radioactive elements. I rely on them to replenish my energy. Only by obtaining the source globe can I accelerate my growth to maturity, to fight and battle those sleeping giant beasts. Otherwise, humanity will once again fall into endless disaster. In Supreme Command, the bigwigs were shocked when they heard this news. This is an event that will happen in the future. We must get our hands on that source globe. I mean, get the source globes in other countries. A military bigwig spoke up. The nearest source globe we can definitely obtain. As for the ones in the bear country and the thief eagle country, the chances are slim. The only possible extra source globe is the one in the center of the Great Hunting Valley. After multiple rounds of Q&A, what help do you need now? The director asked Godzilla. Nuclear material. I need some nuclear material to replenish myself. Not too much. In a month, I will absorb the source globe that appears to truly start strengthening myself. In the director's earpiece, instructions from higher-ups came through. Grant it. Fulfill his request. 10 kilograms of nuclear material will then be transported to Base 5. At this moment, a plane is carrying 10 kilograms of nuclear material, speeding toward Base 5. In Supreme Command, a crisis is coming soon. I think we should massively buy up food and supplies from countries around the world. One bigwig spoke directly. Then should we tell other countries about the apocalypse? Another person also spoke up. I don't think we need to tell them. Our top priority is to massively buy up other countries' supplies. Our own reserves are large, but the more the better. Once the world crisis hits, no one will be able to look out for anyone else. If we release the information, we won't be able to buy up more supplies. A military bigwig expressed his view. Better to betray other countries than let them betray us. As for building underground shelters, we need to start construction as soon as possible. Time waits for no one. We must mobilize the fastest resources to build underground shelters. This is a war. Indeed, this is a war. As for expanding the military, and Godzilla directly bit the nuclear material, swallowed it into its body, and its entire form then slowly sank to the bottom of the ocean, falling into a deep slumber. At that moment, the whole world received the news that Dasha was buying supplies. What's going on? Why would Dasha suddenly purchase such a huge amount of supplies, including ammunition, food, steel, and minerals? Call our allied nations for a meeting. At this time, the US president gave the order to analyze Dacia's actions. In the US House of Representatives, many congressmen gathered there. Some agreed, some disagreed. Selling such a huge amount of supplies. So many different types, to Dacia, isn't that just helping the enemy? That was old Deng speaking. Heh, this deal can definitely stimulate our country's economic growth. For the sake of the nation, I have to agree to this no matter what, because selling all these supplies allows me to take a 10% kickback. Under his leadership, the US passed the deal. Over the following 15 days, massive amounts of supplies were shipped from various countries to Dacia. However, the next day, an announcement that shocked all of Dacia and stunned the entire world came out. The whole world was thrown into turmoil. In Dacia, almost everyone received a text message. National disaster is coming, crisis is coming. To protect our homes, our country, and the people of Dacia, we hereby issue a notice to all Dacia citizens. Dacia will recruit 60 million soldiers. All those with ambition, please sign up enthusiastically. At the same time, in various places, military recruitment stations appeared. What? These people? At this age? Dacia's economy? Recruit 60 million? All those with ambition, please sign up enthusiastically. At the same time, in various places, military recruitment stations appeared. What? A disaster is coming to Dacia? Who dares to touch my Dacia? Ha ha ha. Finally, we're increasing our forces. I, Lee Erniu, can finally join the army. Many retired veterans directly contacted the military, demanding to return. If there's a war, then, moreover, across all of Dacia, the news of recruiting 60 million soldiers had already spread across the entire planet. Leaders of various countries were deeply worried. If I had known earlier, I shouldn't have sold so many supplies to Dacia. The top priority now is, if they really make a move. Just as Bai Chuan finished speaking, a piece of news reached the desks of all world leaders. Dacia issued another notice. But this time, the notice was directed to the whole world. The general meaning was, all Dacia citizens abroad, please return to Dacia as soon as possible. Do not delay. Otherwise, you will be responsible for any consequences. The world leaders were even more shocked. Why is Dacia starting to mobilize from all over the world, recalling Dacia citizens? Dacia isn't going to attack the whole world, is it? This is insane. Leaders of various countries couldn't sit still. They said they needed to first confirm what Dacia was planning. The foreign ministries, but what exactly are they doing? The foreign ministries of various countries got moving and started calling Dacia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs one after another. Sorry, we don't know why this is happening either. Just wait, we'll tell you if we get any news. Just as the foreign ministries were making calls, Dacia's third notice came out. The eyes of the whole world were focused on this press conference Dacia was holding. In front of mobile phones, TVs, and computer screens, people watched the upcoming press conference. At the venue, many media outlets had already set up cameras, and journalists had prepared their questions. The reporters looked at the spokesperson. Reporters kept taking photos. Countless people focused, ready to listen to the next statement. The spokesperson showed no nervousness, looking down at the journalists and friends. Like any ordinary press conference. Good evening, everyone. That first sentence out of their mouth meant it was time to get down to business. Every camera aimed at the spokesperson, ready to record their words. Faced with Dacia's global purchase of supplies and the nationwide recruitment of 60 million soldiers, countless people were curious, desperately wanting to know the answer. Everyone, please look at the screen, the spokesperson said, motioning to the screen. Many eyes turned to the large screen behind the spokesperson, afraid of missing anything. On the screen, images began to slowly appear. First, Japan secretly. What's with the footage of radioactive material being dumped? Why are they showing Japan? The footage of radioactive material dumping, are they looking for an excuse to start a war with Japan? Japanese netizens couldn't stay calm. They started talking about it. Even Japan's allies couldn't sit still. Even he started to wonder if Great Xiao was planning to use this as an excuse to punish them. So they started sending messages to other world leaders. Why are they suddenly playing footage of little Japan? Footage of Japan dumping radioactive material. Now they're even explaining the harm of radioactive material. Interesting, so they're going to criticize little Japan. If you ask me, just send a few Dongfeng missiles over. Netizens worldwide were also confused. They didn't understand what was happening, but they kept watching. The footage continued to play. Cases of giant creatures appearing all over the world. Images that most people had never seen before started appearing in front of everyone. Holy crap, What is that thing, so huge? That giant octopus had to be at least 40 or 50 meters long. How can there be a snake that big? What the hell are these monsters? Ha, they're just using some fake pictures. What a trash country. Now they're starting to lie. Seeing this, foreign netizens were baffled. Why is Great Xia suddenly making these special effects? There are no such giant creatures in the world. Great Xia, to create panic, is actually doing this. During the US-UK Allied Summit, they were watching the news while holding an online meeting, discussing in real time. Slander, this is pure slander. Japan has never dumped radioactive material. Japan's prime minister shouted emotionally, demanding justice. Ha, even White Elephant Country feels ashamed hearing you say that. Alright, quiet down. The US president, Defeated River, looked at the Japanese prime minister on the screen. With disdain, everyone knows it was you, Japan, who dumped radioactive material, and now you're still shouting. Great White Elephant Country believes that what Great Xia showed is just special effects. Even if it's real, so what? Just a few examples. Great Cosmic Nation is invincible, we won't fall apart. President Defeated River watched the speeches of various world leaders, displeased. They too had recently discovered strange incidents, but hadn't taken them seriously. Seems they need to pay attention now. Alright, Great Xia is just bluffing. We already consulted scientists. They said this is normal. Defeated River spoke slowly, calming the many world leaders. But inside, he had different thoughts. While Great Xia continued its press conference, introducing those cases and incidents, Defeated River urgently notified key lawmakers to hold a meeting. Everyone, something big might be happening. Great Xia was stockpiling supplies like crazy, and now with what they showed, something big may be coming. President Obama, we also sensed something was off. What should we do? Now, immediately follow Great Xia's lead, buy supplies globally. Place orders. Defeated River spoke with a firm gaze. A smirk appeared on his face. Ha! You didn't expect this, did you? We're stockpiling supplies too. Ladies and gentlemen, you've all just seen the images and videos on the big screen. According to our investigation, tracking and monitoring, due to the super strong radioactive material discharged by Japan, it has spread across the globe. No place has been spared. Everyone knows the dangers of radioactive material. But what's even more terrifying is that the super strong radioactive material discharged by Japan has caused global biological mutations, making them gigantic and aberrant. We already have some examples, exactly what you saw on the screen just now. What's more frightening is that in the future, more creatures will mutate into giant beasts. They will grow even larger. According to reliable information, when certain creatures mutate, they gain special powers. We will have to deal with them with great difficulty and ensure the safety of the people. So it was all real. Damn it. Little Japan, I'll kill you all. If so many creatures become giant monsters, aren't we in serious danger? I think I understand now why the country went on a global shopping spree and recruited 60 million soldiers. Ha! Don't forget the country's tradition, what we tell the public will be softened so it sounds less dangerous. The press conference continued. On the big screen appeared a few big words: Grand Infrastructure. Underground Shelter Project. Wow! A wave of astonishment in the audience. Grand Infrastructure means carrying out large-scale construction projects to ensure the safety of our people. At the same time, the Underground Shelter Project will be carried out nationwide simultaneously, building underground sanctuaries. Our country's engineers and scientists have finished the nationwide geological survey plan, and they've started drafting the construction blueprints. When the time comes, we'll mobilize the entire national construction team. It has to be fast, accurate, and steady, because before long, the whole world will be thrown into a world of mutant creatures. Humanity has to protect itself. On that note, our country also urges other nations to quickly prepare their own defenses. In the future, more and more giant beasts will appear, and enemies will only grow stronger. That announcement hit everyone like a bomb. Such a massive project will require the entire country's engineering teams, and with more and more giant beasts on the way? That's basically a crisis, right? Damn, brothers, the crisis is real. So does that mean we get to fight monsters? Don't panic. The country already went through one global shopping spree. Now I see tons of factories cranking out supplies like crazy. No need to worry, everyone. One of the 60 million soldiers, I'll protect you. After the press conference, every construction bureau started mobilizing and recruiting workers. The engineers moved fast. A bunch of civilian construction teams also stepped up, saying they wanted to help with the National Underground Bunker Project. This isn't just helping the country, it's helping ourselves, helping our families. paving the way for the future. And at the recruitment offices, in just one day, 25 million people signed up. In just 12 days, Godzilla grew to 33 meters. It must be that legendary beast that devours nuclear material. Keep monitoring Godzilla's condition. Tomorrow is the day Godzilla said the mysterious spheres would appear all over the world. Right now Godzilla is still sound asleep. In the top command center, several bigwigs are discussing how the prophesied time is getting closer. And Godzilla still hasn't made a move, which makes them think for a moment. No matter what, we have to secure the two spheres first. The one that appeared near Base 5 is a must. As for the one at Great Hunting Valley, we've already come to an agreement with the country stationed there. Once it appears, it'll be shipped straight back to Base 5. Should we just bomb Godzilla awake? No. We don't know what rashly waking Godzilla up might do to Godzilla. One of the bigwigs says, "Alright, we've already made our preparations. Now we just wait for the mysterious spheres to show." In the American meeting, folks, according to reliable intel, Xia sent soldiers to the center of Great Hunting Valley. The reason is still unknown. US President Biden tapped the table and said slowly, "What? Aren't they in the middle of that massive underground bunker project? Why would they send soldiers to that place? To rescue the John Bull Prime Minister? Knowing Xia, they must be plotting something. We need to find out immediately," said the British Prime Minister. All the leaders eventually agreed and also dispatched soldiers to Great Hunting Valley. As the first rays of the next day's sunlight broke through the darkness, something strange happened. Near Base 5, a mysterious, unbelievable sphere with intense radiation appeared. Near Base 5. Right then, all personnel put on protective gear. Ready and waiting. Alarms went off. Target sighted at 6:15. The target appeared out of nowhere, no warning. Coordinates confirmed, location provided. All personnel proceed to the site with protective gear. Rows of armed soldiers moved toward the coordinates in perfect formation, while researchers with their equipment followed alongside. Arriving at the destination, in their sight, a black sphere almost a meter in diameter sat there. It also gave off a hint of fear, like facing something terrifying. "Quick, pack up the sphere. This Geiger counter's reading is off the radiation detectors. Scale, classified as extremely dangerous. Run material composition analysis. Report, cannot detect. It's like there's no such material on Earth." What? How is that possible? The researchers were shocked. "Hurry, our mission. Put the big sphere back, store it safely, and wait for Godzilla to wake up." This would be Godzilla's energy source. Even wearing protective suits, the soldiers and researchers all felt the terror before them, as if the suits were useless. The soldiers and researchers. Finally, with everyone's effort, the sphere was sealed and transported deep underground to Base 5. At the same time, the same scene was happening at the center of the Great Hunt Valley. The sealed big black sphere was urgently loaded onto a plane, with soldiers and researchers boarding the aircraft to escort it back to Base 5. Beneath the sea near Base 5, a pair of giant beast eyes slowly opened. Godzilla had awakened at that moment. "How long have I been asleep?" While checking his body, Godzilla realized he had grown to over 30 meters tall. Report: Godzilla has awakened. Good, keep observing Godzilla's movements. Godzilla slowly stood up from the seabed and looked toward the surface. He swam upward in silence. His enormous body in the sea kept the fish from daring to approach. All because of Godzilla's powerful aura. Godzilla's head emerged on the surface. Base 5 was over there. Godzilla dove again and swam toward Base 5. If anyone had been in the air, they would have been astonished to see Godzilla's incredible dorsal fins breaking the surface, cutting through the water all the way. On the shore, many soldiers were already waiting. Godzilla, under everyone's stunned gaze, as his body slowly emerged from the water and he stepped ashore. Every step made the earth tremble. It was breathtaking. Now over 30 meters tall, Godzilla stood before them. His entire body even more imposing. His scaly skin made him look even mightier. An invisible pressure swept over the crowd. "Prepare the elevator quickly. Put the device on Godzilla so we can communicate." At that moment, a plane was flying over the Indian Ocean, about to enter the South China Sea of Daxia. "All right. These are orders from above. We must carry them out. No need to say more, this is definitely a national matter. But this big black sphere has intense radiation, yet we can't detect what substance it's made of. It's really intriguing," the researchers chatted on the plane. Soldiers held their guns at the ready. "Wait. What's that 40-meter plus thing on the radar? It looks like a bird." "Oh no, it's heading straight for us." Alarms blared instantly, and everyone tensed up. Then, the 5 escort fighter jets beside the plane quickly sped toward the position shown on the radar. Report. A 40-meter giant creature has been spotted. Should we shoot it down? It must not be allowed to harm the escort. Permission to open fire. Roger. The 5 fighters shot past like meteors. The pilots drove their planes closer rapidly. Just as they approached the 10 o'clock position shown on the radar, they were stunned. What a huge bird! Watch out, dodge! The giant eagle brushed past the fighters. However, the eagle's attention was not on the fighters at all. Its instinct told it that inside that big plane was an irresistible temptation. Oh no, it's heading for the plane carrying the sphere. And it's extremely fast. Hurry, we have to stop it. The 5 fighters flipped around and flew toward the giant eagle. Permission to use missiles. Roger. Meanwhile, the plane carrying the big black sphere had already turned and accelerated, flying off in another direction. The giant eagle refused to give up and gave chase directly. Target locked. Number 1 ready to fire. Launch missiles. 2 missiles shot out from one of the planes. A boom echoed through the air. The 2 missiles streaked toward the 30 to 40-meter giant eagle like arrows piercing the clouds. The missiles kept locking onto the eagle. The eagle instinctively felt that if those things behind it hit, something terrible would happen. A piercing eagle cry rang out. The giant eagle flapped its massive wings, sped away, and plunged into the clouds. The 2 missiles followed close behind. An explosion came from the clouds. Did we hit it? No. Stay alert. Nothing has fallen yet, but it's still on radar. Damn, it's coming for us. Take evasive action. It burst out of the clouds in an instant. The giant eagle, swift as lightning, was immediately above Fighter 3. Its massive claws grabbed hold. The fighter's fuselage, Fighter 3 was directly crushed by the claw's force. Torn in two, it plunged downward trailing black smoke. The pilot had no chance to eject. The first soldier of Dasha to die fighting a giant beast. Avenge Old Lee. The remaining pilots were filled with rage and grief. Their comrade had just died right before their eyes. Missiles locked and fired. All 4 fighters launched their missiles at the giant eagle simultaneously. They chased after the giant eagle. A piercing shriek erupted in the sky. Pursued by 8 missiles, the giant eagle had no escape. The missile's power was, for these creatures that had only just begun to beastify, still lethal. Blood splattered, flesh flew like a giant crimson firework blossoming in the sky. Blood mist dispersed in the sky like a demon's final howl. Huge chunks of flesh fell from the blue sky onto the South China Sea. Massive slabs of meat crashed down. The sea churned with countless waves. Countless blood vapors spread out into the ocean. Far, far away, the flesh-eaters caught the scent of their prey. At the site where the flesh had fallen, the predators began their conflict. Up in the sky, the 4 fighters returned to escort the large aircraft, but the pilots carried extra sorrow. Gone was the excitement from escorting the top-secret black spheres. After a nerve-wracking flight, the aircraft finally arrived at Base 5. The researchers, who still didn't know about Godzilla, along with some soldiers, the moment they got off the plane, saw a massive monster standing nearby. One female researcher screamed in terror, nearly fainting. Luckily, others caught her. The other researchers also stared in fear at Godzilla in the distance. Towering, mighty, invincible, that was the impression, along with the researchers' terror. It reminded them of the giant eagle they had encountered while escorting the big black spheres back. Giant eagle? Everyone, no need to panic. That is our comrade, a voice called out. Just as the people who had disembarked were stunned, a voice rang out. Comrade? A terrifying giant monster? The two concepts mixed together, making their minds race. At that moment, Godzilla, who had been communicating with the Base 5 commander, turned his head and started moving this way. The researchers' hearts skipped a beat. Every step Godzilla took made the ground shake, causing the researchers to instinctively step back. Meanwhile, at Base 5, the big black spheres were also being transported out. Inside 2 cube-shaped metallic boxes were the 2 black spheres. The mysterious black spheres that had suddenly appeared in the world, huge and terrifying. It was the first time the researchers had been this close to a giant beast. An intense pressure washed over them. Godzilla slowly lowered himself to approach the 2 cubes. A powerful urge to devour surged within him. It nearly made Godzilla unable to resist reaching out and consuming them. "Can I touch you?" a female researcher gathered her courage to ask. Godzilla heard her words. He then swung his massive tail over and placed it directly in front of the female researcher. This would be a contact with a giant beast, a great research opportunity. Carefully, she reached out her hand. Carefully, she placed her hand on Godzilla's tail. The skin was so hard. Like touching rock. "Should we take a sample?" and bring it back for study. As time passed, Godzilla's craving for what was inside the two spheres grew stronger. Open them. I am ready to devour and absorb these two black spheres. The mechanical voice rang out. It was Godzilla's brainwave translated voice. But these things have extremely strong radiation. We must put on protective suits first, the chief commander was about to say. A researcher had already informed him about the black sphere's data. No need to worry. Around me, I will absorb all radiation. You will be fine. After waking from his slumber, Godzilla discovered that his body had undergone a massive transformation. It wasn't just that his size was increasing, his body was absorbing radiation, and his massive form acted like a giant black hole for radiation. It couldn't escape, couldn't get away, it was only absorbed and turned into fuel for himself. The head officer hesitated. After all, if a human body got hit with such high levels of radiation, death would be near. But just then, the researchers took measurements with a radiation detector and found that the ambient radiation was very low, well within safe levels for human survival. When they pressed the detector right against Godzilla's skin, it still didn't register any radiation. Godzilla was absorbing every bit of radiation into his body, letting none escape. Absolutely incredible, the researchers marveled, and their view of the giant beast began to shift. Maybe the old legends about super monsters that commanded natural forces were real after all. In that case, open it. The head officer made the call on the spot. The researchers grabbed their tools and got ready to open the cube-shaped container. Everyone else moved away to a safe distance. As the container opened, two black spheres, each a meter in diameter, appeared before everyone's eyes. Right in front of Godzilla. Sure enough, no one was affected by radiation. But in the space between Godzilla and the black spheres, radiation levels shot through the roof. The instruments couldn't even read the values. Meanwhile, Godzilla's body was continuously absorbing the radiation from a distance. In that instant, every cell in Godzilla's body his 30-plus meter frame, was engulfed. A roar erupted, Godzilla's cry, deafening. The smoke from the black spheres was absorbed directly into Godzilla's skin. Inside, his cells went into overdrive. As the crowd watched in horror, a massive boom rang out, and the ground shook. Right before their eyes, Godzilla crashed heavily onto the ground beside him. Oh no, something's wrong, check it out now. Report, Godzilla's vital signs have dropped to 0. As he spoke, the scan results came in. Godzilla's internal temperature was falling. This is bad. The head officer was stunned by the news. But the next second, Godzilla's tightly shut eyes slowly opened. As if he'd just woken up. In his field of vision, he saw a crowd of soldiers and researchers watching him from a distance. Some were taking photos. Some were operating equipment, others were recording data, and still more. Soldiers with guns stood all around. A puff of air blew from Godzilla's nostrils. Looking at his current state, Godzilla understood. After absorbing the two black spheres, he'd suddenly passed out. He didn't even know what had happened, but he felt power surging through his entire body. Slowly, he stood up, his massive, 50-plus meter frame towering over everyone. His enormous tail swept through the air. One swing could trigger a major earthquake. With his terrifying, majestic appearance, Godzilla now stood over 50 meters tall, his fierce posture and prominent dorsal fins even more dazzling. A faint blue glow pulsed from them now and then, as if holding immense, surging energy. An overwhelming pressure hit everyone. He seemed like a god. Anyone with megalophobia standing in front of Godzilla now would be frozen in terror. His weight now exceeded 20,000 tons, absolutely terrifying. Every step he took made the earth tremble. The land around Base 5 was no longer suitable. Godzilla walked step by step toward the sea. What's he doing? Isn't he going to talk to us first? Is Godzilla trying to escape? Don't talk nonsense, can't you feel it? Every step Godzilla takes makes the ground shake. If this keeps up, the runway will be destroyed. The sea offers more space. Godzilla kept walking into the water, finally stopping at a spot where the sea submerged most of his body. Only his head remained above the surface. He looked at the people at Base 5, then stopped moving. Just his head sticking out. Looks like Godzilla is waiting for us to come talk to him. Prepare a naval vessel to approach. Yes, sir. How long was I out? A mechanical voice echoed around everyone. It was as if he'd been wandering in the dark. Fell into a deep sleep, so much so that Godzilla lost all sense of time, only knowing that during the slumber, there was nothing but endless darkness. On the majestic warship, the head of Base 5 said, "After your massive body absorbed those two black spheres last time, you suddenly collapsed onto the ground. All vital signs vanished completely, as if you were dead, not a trace of life. And now you've been asleep for 13 days. 13 days. Doesn't that mean in 2 more days, that place will see its first giant monster creature? Suddenly attacking a human city. A mechanical voice rang out. According to the last timeline. This was the news I learned. In 2 days, that 40-meter-tall giant creature mutated from a pangolin. With terrifying defensive power. In the previous timeline, after the Dacia military eliminated the other 10 to 20-meter giant creatures he led, they had to use over a dozen super missiles to kill him. At that time, these mutant creatures had already broken into the city. The soldiers of Dacia held them back until all the nearby people who could flee had evacuated, then launched the missiles. Due to inexperience the first time, many soldiers died. They are far too powerful, something current humanity cannot withstand. Yes, according to the predicted date, in 2 days it will happen. The civilians there have already been fully evacuated, and the military is ready. They've also prepared highly destructive missiles for when needed. Based on your intel, they will emerge from the mountain range on one side of the city. Our people have been monitoring around the clock, but haven't found any anomalies. But we're not letting our guard down, the head of Base 5 explained to Godzilla. The current situation and arrangements. Even I don't know why they'll suddenly appear. Or maybe they're hiding so well that even technological means can't detect them. Perhaps it's time to take action. To get some practice. A mechanical, emotionless voice sounded, conveying the thoughts in Godzilla's mind. You want to go there personally? That's still a whole province away from Base 5. Time should be enough. The head of Base 5 hadn't expected Godzilla to want to go himself. Perhaps he would witness a battle between giant beasts. Godzilla felt his own body. He must undergo actual combat training. No matter if the current opponent is weaker than him, he still has to go. If he lacks combat experience, when those supergiant beasts emerge later, he will suffer a great loss. Let's set off now. Guide me, or else I might run in the wrong direction and accidentally end up in Cherry Blossom Country. That would be awkward. Thinking of Cherry Blossom Country, Godzilla couldn't help but recall the previous time. It was that very terrifying giant beast that landed from the sea in Cherry Blossom Country, and it evolved extremely fast. Okay. The number 5 director directly nodded in agreement, and at the same time reported the situation to his superiors. To get to that place, Godzilla would have to pass through land. In some command room of Dacia. Godzilla wants to come here in person. What do you all say? How should we plan a route for Godzilla? Now we should plan a route with no people. If civilians see him, it might cause panic. It's fine. Everyone already knows the news that the end is coming. Now everyone has accepted it, but we need to make sure Godzilla doesn't disturb people's lives along the way. We have to choose a route with few people. Alright, Godzilla is already being guided by the naval ships. At sea, heading toward land. Let him make landfall right there. That area has few people. After reaching shore, helicopters can guide him to the designated location. We just don't know when he'll arrive. Since Godzilla said he's coming here, he can get here within 2 days. We just need to handle the guiding work. Godzilla is planning to gain practical combat experience. According to records and the legends, the sleeping giant beasts are extremely terrifying. Only a giant beast can fight another giant beast. We humans are just support. On the sea, a large blue dorsal fin shaped like coral cuts through the waves. It was a truly awe-inspiring sight. Ahead, a warship led the way, guiding Godzilla. Heading toward the land of Yunnan province. Having grown to 50 meters, Godzilla's own speed had greatly increased. Though his size and weight had also grown larger, his strength was even greater. Swimming through the seawater was effortless. Just as they were on their way to land, a fishing boat appeared in everyone's view. The fishing boat was full of older men out fishing. Hey, the country suddenly issued an order. In another 2 months, they're banning us from fishing, saying there's some huge danger in the sea, and they're gonna relocate us. A middle-aged guy on the boat said while sorting the nets, but all we know is fishing, what else are we supposed to do? Another guy with a scruffy beard chimed in, hey, didn't you see the news? There's some unknown giant creature in the ocean now. Some are dozens of meters long, one slap from it and our boat's toast. Then Captain Lee came out. He explained, speaking of that, does this mean even on land? We're gonna see creatures that big? Scary to think about. My son enlisted in the army a while back. Said he'll protect you all. Speaking of which, my uncle brought his whole construction crew to build some underground shelter project. He says it's the last line of defense. Gotta get it built quick to stop the big monsters. Captain Lee, look, there's a warship over there. It's being chased by a monster. There really is a monster. What's going on? Damn, even its dorsal fin is that huge. Why isn't the warship fighting back? That's driving me crazy. Get on the public channel and contact the warship. Ask if they need help, we can slow the monster down for them. Those guys on board are the nation's hope. Seeing the warship ahead and Godzilla behind, the crew got anxious. They thought the warship had run out of ammo and was being chased. Seeing that huge dorsal fin, they were terrified, but still thinking, does the warship need help? This is Fishing Boat 9527. Do you need us to block that big monster? On the warship, the public channel picked up the fishing boat's call. The soldiers on the warship listened to the fisherman's words, then fell silent. The villagers thought their warship was being chased by a monster, so they were about to steer their little fishing boat. To stop Godzilla, to delay him, to give the warship a chance to escape from Godzilla. Hearing the simple fisherman's words, they couldn't help but feel moved. As soldiers, it was them who should be standing in front of the people. But these guys hadn't considered that a Godzilla this big was something they couldn't even touch. One swipe of Godzilla's dorsal fin and their boat would fall apart. Still, to ease the villagers' worry, the warship replied to the fishing boat, saying not to worry. Stay safe. This is Warship 369. Villagers, thanks for the call. That big monster behind us isn't chasing us. And it's not our enemy. We're fine. Thank you, villagers. Please stay safe. If you encounter another giant creature, evacuate immediately. Don't linger. Dealing with monsters is the army's, the soldiers' duty. Protect yourselves. After that, the warship finished its message. Back on the fishing boat, the villagers were a bit confused. That terrifying big monster behind them wasn't an enemy after all, and it wasn't chasing them, it looked more like it was guiding the way. Since the warship had confirmed there was no danger, the fishermen relaxed. Captain Lee, what do we do now? The fishermen gathered around, asking for the next move. Are they really okay? Could the soldiers be trying not to worry us, lying that it's not being chased by a monster? All the fishermen were worried. With a big monster showing up, the sea didn't seem safe anymore. Guys, we've caught enough. Let's head back. If a real monster shows up, we're done for. Reporting in. The coast of Yan'an province is just ahead. Give the order. The warship stopped forward motion on the calm sea of Jianlan. Not far from the shore, the warship that had been guiding Godzilla slowed down and came to a full stop. Behind the warship, Godzilla sensed the coast just ahead. His mighty dorsal fin broke the surface and he swam toward the shore. On the coast? Holy crap, it's huge. That's at least 50 meters. So the order we got from higher-ups was to guide this big monster? Just looking at the shadow under the water from the air is terrifying. It's coming, almost to the shore. Boom! Godzilla's upper body suddenly burst out of the sea, sending waves crashing. Countless tons of water fell from dozens of meters up. Scatter! The seawater on Godzilla's body cascaded down like a waterfall. The waves crashed. Damn, just the upper half of my body is already this tall and massive. Fly higher, brothers. Ishan, what do you think happens if you get stepped on? You trying to get me killed? You'd definitely be reduced to nothing. Ha ha ha. Look at Godzilla. As the massive body appeared near the coastline, the helicopter pilots were mostly excited. They already knew that Godzilla was on their side now, a comrade in arms. Seeing Godzilla so huge and imposing, with those cool blue dorsal fins, such a massive monster, and possessing such immense power, fighting alongside Godzilla? That's gotta be awesome. Godzilla looked at the coastline ahead, then at the armed helicopters circling in the sky. He realized they were there to guide him. Time to go ashore. That massive body, like it held infinite strength. Everyone, keep your distance. Godzilla's landing left huge deep footprints on the beach. Godzilla's weight right now was way too much, already over 20,000 tons. The soft sand couldn't even support Godzilla running. Huge. The pilots were completely stunned. The massive body, the thick and long tail, swinging through the air with a fierce expression. The trees below Godzilla were like little blades of grass. A wave of pressure hit, and the pilots couldn't help swallowing. And they instinctively moved away from Godzilla. They could feel that one slap from Godzilla could send their helicopters flying. Alright, time to head out. One of the pilots, after the shock, knew what the mission was. Alright, let's move. How fast should we fly? It's this big. Not sure about its speed. Higher-ups said Godzilla won't be slow. Let's go at a steady speed first, then adjust. Roger. The three armed helicopters flew off into the distance. Godzilla saw that and followed right behind. Even though Godzilla was huge, its speed was definitely not slow. Along the way, countless trees were crushed under Godzilla's 50-meter massive body, leaving huge footprints behind. If anyone was nearby, They'd definitely feel the ground shaking nonstop, trembling again and again. Every step Godzilla took carried immense energy, pounding the earth beneath. Along the way, countless birds and beasts were disturbed. Whatever. In the future, many creatures would grow huge too. For now, some getting crushed by Godzilla was like a donation to the future. What's going on? An earthquake? Even though the country was now urging people not to go into the wild, some still thought it was thrilling. The more the country banned it, the more they wanted to do it. Everyone felt it. The ground shaking a bit, and they were currently on the peak of a mountain. Look over there. Oh my god. What is that thing? One of the female team members spotted, on the other side. Not far away, 3 armed helicopters were flying, and behind them was a huge monster following. A monster? There really is a monster. Some people were already scared. That thing's at least 40 or 50 meters tall, right? This show's route probably won't come our way. Hurry, take a picture. Big news. The captain quickly pulled out a camera and snapped photos of Godzilla, a terrifying and enormous super beast. And there's even the military involved. Captain, could we also suddenly have giant creatures appear? We should leave as soon as possible. Some team members were freaking out, remembering the country's warnings. Meanwhile, the captain was still filming Godzilla as it moved away. Ha 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 ha. I'm gonna blow up with this for sure. What should the title be? How about shock? Civilians accidentally discover the military leading something? What do I care? That's what I saw with my own eyes. So what about that big monster? Why didn't the attack helicopters take out the squad leader? Alright, when the money comes in, I'll cut some to your leader. He shrugged dismissively and said, making money is all that matters. This is absolutely explosive news. Oh, and we've got to submit it to foreign media too. Another paycheck. Wait, don't you know those foreign outlets are always trying to smear us? So what? Look. Everyone, stop arguing. Let's get back now. The giant beast the country warned about is definitely real. Getting back is the priority now. Are they filming us with that gear? Too far away, but I'm sure they're filming. Copy that. Already reported up. Don't worry about anything else, just guide Godzilla to the destination. One of the pilots glanced back in that direction, then dismissed it and flew on toward the target. When the expedition team came down the mountain, the team leader promised everyone he wouldn't leak the photos or videos, but afterward he sent them out anyway. Slapped on some eye-catching headlines, and submitted them to foreign media in exchange for cash. The internet exploded. Foreign media were thrilled. Domestically. Oh my god, how can there be a monster this huge? And on land? What if it charges into the city? Are those military hellos being chased by the monster? Are they in danger? It looks like the military choppers are leading the monster? Bull. How could they be cooperating with a monster? Is that monster even smart enough? That thing is enormous. Damn. I've gotta hurry up and start building underground shelters. Everyone, trust the nation. The nation won't betray us. Foreign media went even crazier. Shock. Great Xia is secretly. Oh my god, Great Xia is taming a monster. Next time they'll come for us. A netizen from Sakura country popped up. I knew it. Global giant creatures have nothing to do with us. This is clearly Great Xia slandering us. Now there's solid proof. What does Great Xia have to say now? Baka. Great Xia finally showed its true colors. So they're the ones behind it. Not good. We need to prepare defenses. What if Great Xia sends the monster to attack us? We've got a grudge against Great Xia. A netizen from Stick Country sneered, Great Xia thinks having a monster lets them do whatever they want? We have our soldiers as witnesses, advanced weapons, advanced jets. Great Xia must give us an explanation. God, please protect us. Great Xia has actually produced biological weapons. And they're terrifying. As the world's police, we won't just ignore this. Everyone rest assured. But they didn't know that in the future, when giant beasts run rampant, Eagle Thief Country would be the first to fall. Time passed a day later. Somewhere in Great Xia, several big shots were discussing developments in various areas. Right now we have 60 million soldiers. Beyond necessary training. We're directly assigning them to reclaim wasteland and plant grain, and we want to produce as much grain as possible. Our worry is that once food is truly in short supply, it'll become a huge problem. Stockpiling now will ensure that when the apocalypse comes, there's enough food. This way, besides specialized drills, we can also train the soldiers through labor. According to reports, all across the country we're starting indoor crop cultivation, planting as much grain as possible to secure our reserves. A brand new grain preservation technology has already appeared. We'll store every bit of grain we produce. As the person in charge here, I have to consider everything. Food is the foundation of the people. Without grain, we're all finished. Over in that department, you know as well as I do. Developing new weapons takes time and accumulation. Right now the scientists are working full out on new weapon systems, and we're giving them all the support they need. But weapon research can't be finished overnight. Still, I believe they'll deliver a satisfactory result, said the head of weapons development. He said in a deep voice, the overall construction of the underground facilities on our side is progressing at full speed. Apart from the engineering teams we've recruited, people from all over the country are volunteering to help, so progress has been greatly accelerated. Reporting, once the main structure is complete, equipment can be installed immediately. The person in charge of the underground project reported truthfully. Also, regarding the predictions about several major disaster zones in the future, population relocation has already begun, aiming to protect as many people as possible. Reporting, an online meeting has come in from the capital. Please start the meeting in conference room 1. Meeting, an unexpected meeting interrupted their discussion. Everyone, take a look at the situation online and on foreign networks. Godzilla has already been exposed. Public opinion in various countries is discussing this. What's your take? In this meeting, first of all, Godzilla's exposure was inevitable. But we can't just avoid the issue. I've seen some of the online comments. The domestic public still trusts the country, but those foreign ones, they think we caused the global gigantification of creatures. The pressure from foreign public opinion is huge right now. What are they trying to do? Does our Xia nation need to ask for their permission? And what else do they want to say? This matter does need to be handled properly. Many countries' foreign ministries have already called, trying to apply public pressure. Do they want to force our hand? What era is this? Can they even do that? Besides that, what's about to emerge is the real issue now. Why not just tell everyone the truth? Since Godzilla is already exposed, it doesn't matter. In the legends, Godzilla is the giant beast that carries the power of the earth. I suggest that in the upcoming battle, we release the combat footage to the whole world, maybe even stream it live. On one hand, it lets people see the horror of the giant creatures and prepare themselves. On the other hand, it spreads the legend of Godzilla directly. That's not a bad idea. Let's vote on it. Online, what's that? The official materials and the official video, the authorities are releasing them quickly. The ancient legend data of Godzilla, and the stuff hidden from the public about images of Godzilla. In the legend, Godzilla is the supergiant beast born during the Earth's second giant monster disaster, carrying the power given by the Earth. The Earth's second giant monster war's Terminator. However, the legendary first-generation Godzilla already died in the second giant monster war. Though it died, it ended an era. Now giant creatures are rising again in the world. What? So that big monster is Godzilla, the guardian of the Earth? I was wrong about Godzilla. Is there any expert who can tell us if these legends are real? I'm an expert. I confirm these legends are true. What kind of expert are you? Holy crap, an expert in prehistoric biology research. Sorry, I was too hasty. It's true. Stories similar to Godzilla's legend are still passed down in my area. Let's see who dares to badmouth our Xia now. Inside the office of President Biden. Mr. President, the information released by Xia is real. That really is Godzilla, the super giant beast from legend. Who would have thought Xia had such a huge trump card hidden? Biden looked at the documents on his desk. No, we must have a giant beast too. On the desk in front of him inside a command post in Yunnan province, Xia Nation, a red alarm sounded. A huge anomaly has appeared in a 50-kilometer mountain range. Alarm! Alarm! Prepare for battle. Forward reconnaissance. Armed helicopters ready. The anomaly erupted ahead of schedule. On a small mountain, cracks kept forming at the peak. Soil, trees, and debris kept rolling down the mountain. Then, the next moment, boom. Half the mountain exploded. Flying rocks, soil, tree debris kept scattering outward like fireworks. Accompanied by the huge explosion, the entire small mountain was instantly engulfed in dust. Around it, trees began to fall. The whole mountain range was violently shaking. A huge roar came from the mountain, followed by more roars, echoing across the entire area. The next moment, the roars reached several miles away. Over 20 meters, some even close to 30, the massive creatures burst forth. In that moment, the earth shook and dust clouds billowed. Boulders flew everywhere, tigers over 20 meters, ferocious elephants nearing 30. They had already changed, no longer looking like their original forms. Now they recklessly trampled the border between mountains and plains. The giant beasts bared their fangs, as if determined to tear everything apart. A roar. A tremendous roar rang out, and the horde of giant creatures, as if summoned, charged in a single direction toward the city, where the military was already deployed. They raced forward. Report! A massive number of giant creatures have appeared at the target location. They're heading for the city. If not stopped, they'll reach it within an hour. Count, over 120. Most are between 20 and 30 meters. The largest spotted so far. A giant pangolin. These beasts are moving with pinpoint accuracy. Inside the command center, intelligence officers were reporting the situation. The commander-in-chief stared at the screens and listened to the data. Deploy attack helicopters for an initial wave. Then rocket forces will level the area. Tank and armored units, stand by. If necessary, prepare more powerful missiles. All units, attention. On the screens, hundreds of giant creatures appeared, surging across the land in an unstoppable tide. There were even more than Godzilla's prophecy had warned. Previously, Godzilla had predicted only 50 to 60 giant creatures. Now the number had doubled. The situation had become dire, but this time, they were fully prepared. All weapons were ready, and the deployment was set. Attack helicopter units, move in. Helicopter after helicopter was already prepped. As the first wave, they had to disrupt the giants' momentum. First wave, helicopters go. Don't hold back on ammunition, and keep your distance. The circling attack helicopters received their orders. One by one, they flew straight toward the giant creatures. The roar of their engines rumbled through the sky like aerial knights. The helicopters were loaded to the brim with air-to-ground missiles and rocket pods. The pilots, seeing the stampeding giants below, felt a jolt of shock so massive and even more ferocious. Their appearances twisted and changed. All hands, fire rockets at full power. Don't hold anything back. Roger. With the order given, the pilots locked onto the giant creatures on the ground. Red targeting reticles appeared in their sights. With unwavering determination, they slammed down the launch buttons, one after another. Rockets shot out from the attack helicopters. The roar of engines mixed with the whoosh of rockets streaking through the air. Rockets spat red exhaust, leaving white contrails behind. Keep firing. Don't stop. Fire air-to-ground missiles. Let them taste human firepower. More missiles were launched, creating a spectacular sight. Boom, boom, boom. Massive explosions thundered across the land, and fire flashed among the giants. The weaker ones were torn apart, flesh and blood splattering everywhere, leaving behind crater after crater. The clash of rockets and giants after just this one volley. A third of the giants were gone. But the commander frowned. Only a third? The survivors, though wounded, were still alive. Prepare to withdraw. The next wave of rocket artillery will scour this area. With the order, the distant helicopter group began to pull back, leaving room for the rocket forces. Oh no! 7, climb, climb. In a frantic shout, a near 30-meter black-striped giant tiger sprinted forward. With terrifying explosive power, it leaped 100 meters into the air. Bam! The tiger slammed into an attack helicopter. Its monstrous strength crushed the helicopter, and with the tiger's immense weight, the whole thing crashed to the ground. A huge explosion erupted, flames shooting up. Quick! Pull up! Get away! The helicopters retreated rapidly. Rocket forces are ready. The command came through the earpiece from headquarters. No time to grieve, the helicopter units quickly pulled back, and countless rockets soared out in the distance. The entire sky was streaked with the trails of rockets, tearing across the heavens. Bearing endless fury and power, as if the sky itself trembled, a rain of rockets poured down. They hurtled toward the colossal creatures, and those beasts, as if sensing the threat, all came to a halt on the ground. They looked up at the clear blue sky, and in the next moment, a torrent of rockets rained down upon them. Countless explosions erupted, mingled with the agonized roars of giant beasts, blanketing the entire area where the creatures stood. Smoke and fire engulfed the region, and from within the haze, a colossal creature, strikingly similar to an armadillo, burst out of the covered zone, showing no signs of injury, its massive armored scales gleaming.